Dear ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, good morning. Welcome to the 11th Regional Forum for Health, Wellness and Spa Tourism, organized by the Health, Wellness and Spa Tourism Cluster Serbia and supported by the Central European Initiative Corporation Fund and the Ministry of Trade, Tourism and Telecommunications. We are pleased to welcome speakers and participants from 10 countries, Central European Initiative member states. Today, our hosts are representatives of cluster members. Ms. Nataša Ranitović, the President of Health, Wellness and Spa Cluster Serbia. Professor Dr. Milica Lazović, Institute for Rehabilitation, Belgrade. Mr. Slaviša Jovanović, Sales Manager in Prolom and Lukova Spa. Professor Dr. Marko Gašić, in charge for marketing activities in Planinka. Ms. Tamara Petrović, Marketing Manager in Planinka. Ms. Jelena Perić, Sales Manager in Hotel Fruške Terme Vrdnik. Mr. Peđa Filipović, owner of the Wellness Academy Peđa Filipović. Now I'm inviting Ms. Ranitović, the President of the Health, Wellness and Spa Cluster Serbia, to address the forum.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, it's a great pleasure for me to welcome you on behalf of the cluster to our 11th forum. We are grateful to the Central European Initiative, the Ministry of Trade, Tourism and Telecommunications, and the European Spa Association for their support to organizing the forum. We are grateful to Mr. Knežević, the State Secretary for Tourism, for his support to our event. Mr. Knežević, thank you for joining. I'm taking this opportunity to welcome 16 reputable speakers and all participants from 10 European countries, members of the Central European Initiative. The main topic of the 11th Forum is sustainable development of rural and health tourism in line with the best practices of European leaders and the latest trends, taking into account the impact of COVID. The essential question for us is how to rebuild tourism, specifically rural and health tourism, for the future in times of COVID. Today, we'll offer solutions. We will be focused on opportunities for rural and health tourism recovery in the region. We need to understand how tourist demand is changing, how to update, and what strategies to adopt to transform challenges into opportunities. For that reason, our guest speakers will present recovery concepts and programs for development of rural health tourism in COVID and post-COVID times. A special session will be dedicated to the Corona recovery concept in European medical spas and health resorts. The concept will be presented by the Secretary General of the European Spa Association. I invite participants to take an active part in the discussion. Let's find today the best solutions for the future. Once again, thank you for joining. Enjoy.
And now, Mr. Jovanović.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to announce our first lecturer, someone who has dedicated his career to health, wellness, and the concept of spa tourism. A recognized international speaker, an excellent writer of books dedicated to wellness and spa, and someone who is with Serbian Wellness Cluster from 2010. Our first keynote speaker, Mr. Mike Wallace.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about fantasy and reality. Fantasy. When you go on the landing pages of a typical European health spa website, you see beautiful, healthy women in jacuzzis. You see sophisticated, luxurious treatments. People outside looking incredibly fit. But is this the reality? In my experience, it's not. When you go to a typical European spa, you're likely to be surrounded by a lot of seniors, older people, and a lot of very noisy families. And they're all not really there for the health. They're there to eat lots of food and just relax. So if we're being very honest, European health spas at the moment are less about health and more about leisure. There's also a limit as to the type of programs you can choose from. Basically, there are 4 types in my experience. Balneotherapy for physical rehabilitation, leisure, relax, and then maybe a diet or a slimming or detox program. Suddenly, COVID arrived, everyone went into panic, and then I started to see a lot of programs like respiratory recovery for long-term COVID sufferers and immunity booster programs. So I went on the internet and I had a look at some of these programs. In one respiratory recovery program, they had a paraffin pack for your hands. I looked at an immunity booster package the other week, 3 nights, 6 treatments, a couple of mineral baths, a massage, and an inhalation therapy. While you might feel much better after those 3 days, it's not going to scientifically increase your immune system. So spas, if we're going to offer these programs, we have to look at the quality as well. So there's much more that spas can do than just leisure, relax, and balneotherapy. There's also much more to a market than just families and seniors. And really, if you go to most Central European spas, that's what you see. They're going for the same market. I'll just mention a few. Opals, that means older people, active lifestyle. You've got WOPs. The WOPs are mainly in Western Europe. They are your wealthy, healthy, older people. There's also a huge growing segment of older single women. But there are also lots of specialized groups, people that like yoga, people that like outdoor activities. Very interesting, in the Middle East, they advertise Tel Aviv as the gay Mecca of the Middle East. It's not the gay Mecca of the Middle East. But the reason they do that is not because they are LGBT friendly. They know that gay people, particularly gay couples, have no children and a lot of spending power. They want the money. And what about millennials? Millennials like stimulation, they like experiences, they like lots of variety. They won't just be satisfied with a few treatments and lying in hot water over a weekend. So there are a lot of other markets out there that spas can start to investigate. But they have to ask themselves the question, who do we want our guests to be after COVID? And what can we offer them and what do they want? So going back to COVID, I'm sure like me, all of you have been locked up in your apartments. You've moved less, we've eaten more, we've drunk more alcohol. I think my weakness is red wine. I drink double the amount of it than I used to. We've all spent more time on social media, but we've also had more time to think. We've had time to think about and question and reflect. Where have we been putting our energy? We've really had time to evaluate our lives. Anxiety and stress levels have risen. Mental health at the moment, this is the buzzword of 2021. I don't know if anyone here saw the Meghan and Harry interview, but she was going on the whole time about her mental health, her mental balance. He, I think last week, has gone on to be the CEO of a mental wellness organization called Better Up. So mental wellness, mindfulness, these really are the buzzwords of 2021. There's the Silent Spa in Austria. It's a Thermaler spa in Austria. I don't know if anyone's ever been to it or seen it. It's an amazing concept, beautiful thermal pools, amazing design, all designed for deep relaxation. No digital devices are allowed, no children. They were ahead of their time. They built this, I think, 5 years ago. They really saw where the trend was going. So what are people going to want in the future? According to a marketing expert, I just read an article that he wrote, we want to get out of our cities, we want to get out of our apartments, we want wide open spaces, we want freedom, we want beauty, we want scenery. We also want to spend time with our loved ones. So people will be looking for locations that are accessible, that you don't need to worry whether the country is going to be an orange or red zone. where you don't need to worry about a PCR test and updating your immunity passport. They're going to want to go to places that are safe and hygienic. I read a very good article in the BBC not so long ago, and they said actually masks and the hygiene standards that we have today, they're going to be around for a very long time. They're not going to go away. We've also become very socially sensitive, particularly to crowds, not just because of the virus. I was in a supermarket recently, it was very busy. I started feeling very uncomfortable. I'm not worried about getting the virus, just we're not used to having crowds of people around us. We find it uncomfortable, or at least I do. So what are the advantages that health spas in Europe have at the moment? Firstly, they're domestic, they're close. You don't need to cross a border if you want to go to them. A lot of them, particularly in Serbia, are in very beautiful scenic locations. Clinical standards, hospital clinical standards of hygiene and safety. This is a really good selling point that spas can promote. Also, non-crowded accommodation. You don't have to stay in a big spa hotel. You can rent an apartment. You can get a suite. You can go to bed and breakfast. And if things do go wrong, there are medical staff on hand to help. So I see the product in the future. We have to look at it a little bit beyond leisure and balneotherapy for physical rehabilitation. Lifestyle programs, mindfulness, mental wellness, these are all huge opportunities that we can maximize on. If we look at America, they have what they call destination spas. These aren't spas in nice destinations. These are complex resorts that offer a total integrated health product. There's one in Arizona. It's in the desert, and you don't stay in a hotel. They have chalets, which is very good in the COVID era. They don't just have spa, fitness, pool, and sports center. They've got a medical center, not just with traditional medicine, but alternative medicine as well. They have lifestyle centers with workshops and also spiritual centers as well. And I'm just going to read off some of the programs that they offer. And I hope our translator manages to translate these okay for me. Personal discovery is one. Optimal health, outdoor escapes, soul journeys, journey of your soul, lots of metaphysical treatments as well, hypnotherapy, meditation, mindfulness. They also mix art and photography with spa experiences and outdoor experiences. Life management classes is another one. So workshops and education and motivation to improve the quality of your life. These lectures and workshops are a central part of the spa experience there. They have workshops on relationships, workshops for women, workshops on how to manage life's challenges. They don't call it anti-aging or healthy aging. They call it celebrating aging. And they even have workshops, if you've got divorced or split up from your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you can go there to recover on a post-divorce camp. So that's the lifestyle mindfulness area. But what about the medical? I'd like to re-emphasize what I said earlier. There's more to balneotherapy than just rehabilitation for musculoskeletal diseases. Vrnjačka Banja in Serbia recognized this. They were clever. They not only do physical rehabilitation, they also have programs for diabetes. They're clever. No other spa is doing this. But if we look at the death percentages of the population in Europe, 37% of people die from circulatory diseases. That's your heart attacks, your stroke, your high blood pressure. 26% from cancers, 8% from respiratory diseases. If spas are clever, like Vrnjačka Banja, they will start to tap in to these other areas. Cancer is an interesting one because, as I'm sure most of you know, cancer and thermal water can be a contraindication. But there are lots of programs that thermal spas could develop for people post-cancer. Lifestyle programs, exercise, diet, getting people out in the open air. As I said earlier, that's what people want. They want to get out of buildings. I'm coming to the end of my long spiel. I just want to end by talking about mental wellness and the effect that the environment and also politics has on our mental wellness state. As we've seen, if we don't control the wellness of our environment, we get pandemics and we get climate change. And that has a huge impact on our individual wellness state. That's directly influenced by political leadership. And I don't want to get into a big attack on specific governments, but most governments knew a pandemic was coming. They weren't prepared, and they've muddled through the last year, and we've all suffered mentally and financially as a result of this. Governments that are corrupt, that lie, cheat, and steal, that are unethical, this has a direct impact on the people living under them and in their mental and emotional wellness states. So my final message is we need to demand more from our leaders. Until we do, we can't achieve wellness in society. And it doesn't matter to how many spas we visit, how many massages we have, unless we start looking at the bigger picture and other areas of wellness, I don't think wellness will really come to us. So as a quick summary, more to spas than cure and leisure. There's more to a market than families and seniors. Mental wellness, outdoor activities and beautiful scenery, accessibility and hygiene, important key factors for the future. Spas can maximize on the opportunities by diversifying their product and also specializing, doing specific treatments and programs that no other spas are doing, particularly in the medical area. We should be looking outside Europe for inspiration, and we can't forget the importance of environmental and what I call political wellness.
Do you think that spas should be more spas and less wellness centers after the COVID?
Do you mean when you say spa medical?
Yeah, spa medical, the places for rehabilitation and for getting your health better.
I think it depends on the concept. So I think the uniqueness about European spas is the medical product. I think it's got dusty and a bit old-fashioned. I think it needs to be revitalized. And as I said in my speech, I think spas need to specialize, like Vranachka Banya has done. They specialize in diabetes. And there is a place for both because the two are interrelated. As to which balance to go for, it depends on the individual location. But the medical history of the European spa with its medical culture and history, this is something that we have to protect and develop and use in the future. And one positive area with spas, or one positive factor with health spa destinations, they have a lot of space. They're not like city hotels. You have suites. I mean, I ran a spa resort in Marienbad. I was involved in a spa resort in Marienbad. We had empty buildings we didn't use. So there is a way to space guests out in many health spa destinations and offer them a diverse range of accommodation, yes.
And also we have another question that is from Alina. She said, you point many interesting aspects. Do you think the industry is now in the point of rebranding? COVID-19 crisis could be turned in an advantage for the industry?
Exactly, that's why I wanted to speak today, to share my thoughts. I think if we look outside Europe, we start getting new ideas in and breathing new life into the product, I think it's a fantastic opportunity. If we carry on doing families, old people, leisure, balneotherapy, I'm not so sure, particularly with the new generation of millennials. As I said, millennials, these are going to be the biggest demographic segment. They want variety, they want stimulation, they want excitement, they want lots of different experiences. And spas have to be ready for that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mike, for your presentation and for the great information that we get. I wish you good health and to see you in Serbia next year, of course.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed.
So our second panel will be dedicated to the topic Corona recovery concept in European medical spas and climate health resorts. Our moderator will be Mrs. Cila Mezosi, Secretary General of European Spas Association. Since 2000, she has been involved in the activities of ESPA. By 2002, she became a member of the board and from 2018, she is the Secretary General. During her career, Cila Mezosi has been involved in strategic project management on behalf of urban and national government administrations to develop projects in health tourism sector. She worked more than 15 years in German tourism industry and 4 years in the Swiss tourism industry, focusing on tourism abroad. So, Mrs. Cila Mezosi, it's your turn.
Thank you very much, and I hope in the meantime you see also the short introduction to our new panel. And I'm very glad that we got really very good impression of the Serbian medical spas, and your comment and presentation were a good introduction to start with a more serious and let's focus on the medical competence and our very unique selling point in Europe, which no other continent can offer. Medical spas, natural remedies, and this added value of the nature, which is used by a very long tradition. And Serbia is also represented in the Roman spas of Europe. So we are not talking about the new fashion. We are talking about medical competence with tradition in a rural, nice, green, sustainable destination. And thank you very much that I'm in Serbia as a member of the 20 countries in Europe, which are member of the European Spa Association, represented by the Serbian Wellness Cluster. And in the board, we are represented by Mrs. Natasha Raditovic. She is a big fighter, and as you see, all organization where she has her hands works very well. And thank you very much for the whole team and for the Central European initiatives. I can say, and it was also presented by your secretary, State Secretary of Tourism, that the Central European initiative countries have proven that we are not in the backline of vaccination, and also these countries have, I would say, one of the most impressive and advantage Corona recovery concept. So you will see that our experts from Slovakia, from Bulgaria, good example also from Serbia, from Slovenia, and from Italy, will show you good ideas what you have to follow, and you will see that it's not impossible to catch the train. And as you see, new perspective in health tourism, there is no question mark end of the sentence. So we do believe that we have a really big advantage, but we have to use now and to be on the market. And in the meantime, I try to move. Yeah, okay. So the European Spas Association started the whole communication last April, and we had to look about this new role of biology in this COVID era, of course. And actually, very well, warm greetings from our president, Mr. Thierry Dubois. And he mentioned in many of the congresses that our big advantage is that the biology, the spa medicine, is taking care about the chronic disease, diabetes, cardiovascular problem, lifestyle changes. So everything which is related to the health problem of corona survivors and people, they want to stay healthy, it's in the domain, our main subject of biology. So actually we concentrated on 5 subjects in the medicine, which is the respiratory problems, cardiovascular disease, overweight, mental health, distress programs, and which is, I would say, for most of our partners, and I guess also from today's audience, is the lifestyle changes, which is related and combined with the treatments of biology. I would like to show you our first forum, and you can find all this presentation, which was made 2020, so the year when Corona came. We wanted to show that we have already answers. We are not talking about ideas or so I would say we represented what the medical spas in Europe already have done from the in the first wave or after the opening of after the first wave. And yeah, we have to say clearly that the medical spas and these health resorts are safe destination in rural areas. That's also the good combination to the main title of today. And now the lobby has to be focused on and we have to clearly advocate this idea that in this time when the public health is so overcrowded, that the best partnership is to cooperate with the health resort, with the certified medical spas in Europe. And in this way, I would like to say congratulations to Serbia, to Slovenia, to Germany, as you provided even under the first wave to be the second line and to be a strong partner of the public health. So our message, medical spas has to be an indispensable area of the public health. In the European Union, you will see there is almost no money for tourism, but there are a lot of support for the healthcare. And that's why we are also very active direction European Parliament. You see also the main subjects of our lobby work to the Commission. We were also a strong partner of the most influential fair in the tourist sector, ITB, and we dedicated also our program for the recovery concept of this new opportunity of medical spas. And here, before I give the floor to our expert, please get it in your agenda. It's not far away from you. For you, it's a short trip to come to Slovenia to the next European Spa Association Congress. And let's hope we will have more positive news and also more new concept. So I would like to introduce our speaker. If I stop sharing my presentation, and as we agreed with the organizer, now you will show the speaker of the Congress. The first speaker comes from Slovakia, Mrs. Janka Zalašeková, who is former president of ESPA and vice president and president of the Slovak Spa Association. Why we asked her to be the first speaker? Because Slovakia is the first country in Europe they succeed, and it's also mainly her lobby work and competence as a doctor, certified, authorized, financed post-corona recovery program. So, Janka, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, all participants, dear Chila, dear friends in Serbia, I am very happy to receive the invitation for two-day events, and I am very happy to present you shortly my presentation. Please, the technical support, can you start with the first slide? Okay, next, please. Of course, pandemia and its severity and all the consequences of pandemia change not only our lives, but change especially the healthcare systems in all countries in all of the world. And in Europe, also the medical tourism focus to the spa tourism, because we must say that medical spas, it is the heritage of Europe. We started to in Slovakia to prepare the very serious medical program for recovery in our medical spas in October. We change our knowledges also to other countries in the European Spas Association, and we start firstly with self-payers, clients, and pushing and to put a lot of power for lobby work to be paid by insurance companies in Slovakia, because in Slovakia the medical spas are included to the healthcare system, and we have as a law list of indications for spa, and we want to put also post-COVID syndrome to this list. The name of the new diagnosis in this list is stage after COVID-19 with long-lasting serious health impairment. I am very happy that in March it was after discussion in our national parliament. Now it is the true, and it is in our law, and it is fully paid by all insurance companies working in Slovakia, and it is 3 weeks stay. Please, next slide. What is post-COVID syndrome? It is for all of you very clear what is it, and in our law it is mean that it is a very serious health problem which are lasting also after 4 weeks after finishing the acute stage of disease. Next slide, please. The main symptoms are severe fatigue, exhaustion, cough and shortness of breath called dyspnea, muscle pain, joint pain, strong headache, and all these symptoms which are nowadays very familiar in our professionals. Next slide, please. And what is very important, all these symptoms are in combination. Very often they are in combinations. For example, respiratory symptoms with fatigue, neurological symptoms, also with fatigue, pain in muscles, can be also in combination with dyspnea in then cognitive disorders are very common, sleep impairment, and all these mixtures. But in each case, some of the symptoms is dominant. And what is also very important, all the symptoms were not present before disease COVID-19, and all of them limit daily activities and reduce strongly quality of life, which is linked with health. And this is then indication for rehabilitation stay in the medical spas. Please, next slide. And what is a specialty, I think, and it is a good idea that dominant symptom is as will be respecting when the insurance company send the patients to the spa, because all spas are specialized for some indication spectrum. And if the dominant symptoms are from respiratory symptoms, the patient will be sent to the spa, which is specialized for respiratory diseases. If there is the cardiovascular impairment as a dominant symptom, then such a type of clients are sent to spas which are focused for cardiovascular diseases, neurological symptoms to the spas which are specialized for neurological diseases. And what was the added value is that the requirements on the medical staff and technical equipment already exist in such a type of spas, and there is enough clinical experience to treat also the post-COVID syndrome clients. Of course, it is very important to prepare everything for very good diagnostic also and testing the people coming to the spa, because it is very important to put to the healthcare authorities also our results, and to have our results there must be the evidence of these good results, and it is why, as in France, because they are also nowadays working with post-COVID patients in medical spas, there is very important the first examination and testing of health status on the beginning and in the end of the spa treatment. Next slide, please. And what is very important to say, and it was said also by Chila in her introduction, that this situation with pandemic, it is not only the problems with the long-lasting problems and post-COVID syndrome linked with medical spas, but we know that this pandemic show us that we have between us a lot of people so-called with risky health status, and what is now very clear is that in future there must be the number one, also the primary prevention, and we must put a lot of effort to change lifestyle and to prepare very sophisticated programs also in medical spas to deal with obesity, to deal with psychological problem, with burnout syndrome, and so on, because all this is something like sleeping enemy for future, and we must deal with this. Of course, in European Spa Association, we are talking many years about the primary prevention. Many spas, they have some programs also before pandemic. I present in 2018 our program with the support of insurance company, with financial support of insurance company linked with obesity and linked with healthy back. But now we are preparing also two other programs. One is called Building Immunity, and the second one, Burnout Syndrome. And burnout syndrome is officially nowadays included to the international classification of the diseases and have the special code, and we are working on this. The last slide, please. Sorry, the program, okay. There was one picture I don't saw. Sorry, then the last one. Okay, here is not next, please. Next. Okay. And this is what is included into the obesity program in Slovakia. It is for people with body mass index more than 30, or it is body mass more than 28, and plus some risk factor like hypertension or diabetes or hyperlipidemia. Then you can see what it is checked in the SPA, what is with the physical activity, nutrition plan, and so on. And what is very important that this program is lasting only 10 days. It is more education, but we are preparing for each client the individual program for next 3 months. And there is the idea in Slovakia that these people can be on regional level, be putting to consultations and have opportunity to continue in this program. The last one, please. Thank you for your attention. Stay healthy. The pandemic is still with us, and I hope that we will have opportunity to see you all soon in Slovenia in September, not in this way as today, but to have opportunity to talk each other and to be together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Janka. And it was a very impressive and clear message to everyone. If you have medical competence, you make regularly evidence-based medical study related to biology, you have the right lobbyist with medical competence, you can be the first one in Europe to get financed by the national health insurance. We will come back later also to this topic because we have also fantastic representative from Serbia. But the other subject, what I mentioned in my introduction, we have to prove that to visit biology center, health resort, it's much better than to stay at home.
Of course.
And I would say the very exceptional country in Europe who succeed, and also Serbia was on a positive list, who succeed to let tourism working and functioning after the first wave. This was Bulgaria. And now I would like to introduce the Vice President of ESPA and the President of the Bulgarian Biology and Spa Tourism Association, Mrs. Sika Katsarova. And we would like to show that even for private payers, which kind of services are already offered by the Bulgarian partners. So Mrs. Katsarova, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Chila, for the introduction. I would like for the technical support, of course, for my presentation. But I'd like to start with congratulations to the people who organized the 11th Central European Initiative Regional Forum for Health and Spa Industry, because we need such kind of forums to show the role of the European spas as a part of the European health industry. Special thank you to Natasha, my colleague and the president of the Cluster for Wellness in Serbia, who invited us to join this forum. And I would like to say to the people in Serbia that in her face you have really great ambassador. And as a person who is responsible in the European Spa Association for the project ESPA Innovation Award, I would like to say that Serbia had the winner in the last edition, the Aqua Medical Center, took the award in the innovative medical spa in 2019. So please see on the webpage of ESPA, we will run again Innovation Award project, and hopefully Natasha, of course, will support every one of you who is interested. Hopefully we will have enough applicants from Serbia. So back to the topic of for Bulgaria. Chila, yeah, as you mentioned, it was a big fight. If the presentation is running, I don't know, I don't see the presentation, but who we are.
Sisi, maybe you have to share it on your screen.
I provided it to the organizer from the cluster. Sorry, I don't have this opportunity on my computer.
But let's start it.
Yeah, I'll start it. Of course, who we are. Our organization is was founded. I'm one of the founder 15 years ago, and our main goal was to lobby for the interest of the private sector, because in Bulgaria we had a big difficulty sometimes with the public sector representing the health tourism. Nowadays the dialogue is great, but it was a big fight and a big lobby last 15 years. And of course, thanks to the support given by the European Spa Association, Bulgaria succeeded to put in the regulation in our Tourism Act. We had a special regulation showing who can say and who can put the name of medical spa, spa, wellness, or thalasso center. And I'm talking that this regulation was mostly turned to the private sector, because the tourism in Bulgaria is 90% in the private hands. In our organization, our members are also mayors from balneal and spa destinations. And together with investors, together with medical doctors, we are trying to develop and promote Bulgaria as a 4-season destinations on the European map. Nowadays, you can give the next slide, please. We have 100 certified spa centers, 30 certified medical spa center, and unfortunately 0 thalasso centers. Hopefully we will have soon. Next slide, please. The next. Just to see the numbers of the wellness, I don't remember the exact number. The next slide, please. Yeah, 26 wellness centers. This regulation was created together with experts from Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Health, and of course the private sector. Next slide, please. So, as Chila mentioned, we are among the countries who succeeded somehow to run the tourism, of course with lots of difficulties during this journey. But in Bulgaria, the only period when our sector was closed due to the regulation from the government was last year, when the corona pandemic started. Next slide, please. Our spas were closed for 2 months, and thanks to the very good cooperation and the very good lobby we have, the very good dialogue with the health minister and the Minister of Tourism, we succeeded to create a special checklist. Next slide, please. And all of the spas who wanted, or medical spas, to open doors needed to sign that they will follow these regulations, and that's how we opened the doors. Of course, during these 2 months, some hotels decided to stay open, but they were very few, only 20%. Here is one study we did. Next slide, please. For people who are doing budgeting, next slide, please. I'll show you here the percentage, because we asked our members to show how much money they lose from no-show, the so-called no-show. So cancellations from reservation for the period from 1st of March to 1st of June. You can see here the different budgets. That study helps us to talk to our government and to receive support for the industry, because without this support, most of the spas were faced to the problem to reduce the staff in the spas. And you know that the people who are working in the spas and medical spas, they are very high qualified people, and you can't just like this, like without thinking to not to have it. So we received support from our government, and the spa somehow succeeded to survive. Of course, the domestic market was the leading one. And during the pandemic, here's the checklist you can see, but if someone is interested, Natasha will provide you with the checklist. It's a public information, and you can also find it on our official webpage. The next slide, please. I'll mention here one thing. For example, steam bath was forbidden for use because according to the doctors, this was the place where the virus could spread very fast, not only coronavirus, but all of the viruses. But Dr. Železakova is the specialist in this topic, not me. So, next slide, please. With a strong lobby, with a very good dialogue, most likely every day we were in a contact with both ministries, health and tourism, we succeeded to brainwash, sorry for this word, but this is the correct word, to brainwash the Bulgarians, the local market, that now is the time to visit the medical spas and the spas in Bulgaria, because it will be in the favor of the immune system, better immune system. As Chila mentioned, it is better not to stay at home, but to stay in the spa resorts. And our medical spa resorts, they received, some of them, even bigger turnover compared to the last year when we had no pandemic. So the only occupancy, good occupancy over 50%, in some resort over 80%, we received in the Bulgarian medical spa and spa destinations. The Black Sea Riviera was, of course, with big minus, except 2-3 resorts like Albena. You see Albena because Albena is a very good example how they are managing to work in a pandemic situation, and they were among the first who offered a post-COVID program on the international market. The program was created by a very serious team of doctors, and is part of our national health insurance system. Of course, this is the pioneer in this problematic. We have also the next slide, please. Closer to Serbia, one destination, Kustendil, Streamon Garden Medical Spa Hotel, also started to promote and create post-COVID recovery program. And now they are in a negotiation with the health authorities to receive also support from our National Health Insurance Fund for people who would like to use this program in this private medical spa hotel. So to make it short, I think that, as Chila mentioned, and Janka, now is the right time, again, to put on the table the European spas in Brussels, because health is not only vaccinations and medications. And I think more and more of the investors and more politicians, they are starting to be aware how important is to give the opportunity to the people to use their health insurances in the European medical spas, because Europe has traditions from Romance period and all of the natural healing resources and excellent infrastructure, and of course know-how. That's from me. If you have questions, I'm available. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and especially for the closing words. So we talked about post-corona recovery concept. We mentioned also prevention, but in a serious way, not in a fashionable way. And to visit much often medical spas, certified medical spas, to invest in health. And of course, the key word, how you finished, vaccination. I mean, we can be proud that the Central European Initiative countries are one of the leading in the vaccination process, but this is not the only solution. We have to take care of the immune system. We have to take care of people that survived coronavirus. And definitely one of my key words before Corona was especially an overseas market. save money in public health and earn money or make money in tourism. But now it looks a little bit different. If you invest in your health, definitely you save money in a public health, but the role of medical spas, European health resort, it's on a completely different stage, and it will be, even by people they never heard before it, the priority list. So I would like to introduce our Serbian colleagues, and I would say that you have to be very, very thankful to Mrs. Professor Lazovic. She is a full professor at the Medical University in Belgrade, and with the specialization of rehabilitation medicine, and with the extra know-how of traditional medicine, TCM, and complementary medicine. She is very well known internationally also about the publication of evidence-based studies. And as we said, publication and medical research is one of the key words how we can make serious lobby by the Ministry of Health. And she will introduce us how Serbia could be, and this very impressive stage, as I heard from Natasha, that you were even in the first wave. I mean, Serbia succeeded to be the second line by the corona pandemics. So the floor is yours, Mrs. Lazovic.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, 11 Regional Forum for Health, Wellness and Spa Industry, and the colleagues from famous Serbian spas institution and Center for Rehabilitation in Serbia. I would like to greet you as President of Mediterranean Forum of Physical and Rehabilitation Medicine and President Serbian Association of PRM, and the member of scientific team Europe from Balneology, European Society of Physical and Rehabilitation Medicine. My lecture is what happened to physical and rehabilitation medicine after COVID-19 pandemic. I am professor, Medical Faculty, University of Belgrade, and many greetings for you from Belgrade. Following the proclamation of the COVID-19 pandemic, three main components of the medical system, prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation, are equally important. The COVID-19 pandemic has created an increased demand for acute and post-acute hospital beds, suppressing the existing provision in place in many communities. Serbia and many other countries have forcibly converted existing health facilities and rehabilitation facilities into dedicated COVID-19 centers to provide new beds to relieve over COVID intensive care units. The COVID-19 pandemic has introduced limitation for many patients to access standard health services such as visits to healthcare professionals, medication, as well as attendance and rehabilitation. And today, after more than a year, COVID-19, I ask everyone question: where are we today when it comes to cardiac rehabilitation or general rehabilitation? The situation in Serbia is probably similar to that many European countries. The occupancy of bed capacities at, for example, the Institute for Rehabilitation in Belgrade and the Cardiac Rehabilitation Department and work in this department was about 40%. The patient had myocardial infarction, but in cardiac rehabilitation we treat patient and increase risk of developing severe disease and death infected by COVID-19. And the mortality rate is high as 10%. At the same time, patients are requiring timely treatments and morbidity and mortality, and is the big risk of COVID-19 infection for patients in cardiac rehabilitation and in general rehabilitation, and is very important is the rehabilitation in this time for patients with heart failure. In Serbia, as in many European countries, we are currently facing several problems. The first, how to organize our health service, how to provide beds for a large numbers of patients with COVID-19, how to organize rehabilitation. This is very, very important question. I want to remind you how rehabilitation is organized in Serbia and what is the role of spas in rehabilitation. At the end of 60s, there was an orientation towards turning spa resort into rehabilitation centers. At the end of the 70s, modern rehabilitation centers were built in spa resort, which still function today only with reduced rehabilitation capacity. In Serbia, we have 21 rehabilitation centers and had about 7,000 beds. Our Health Fund, Ministry of Health of Serbia, pays 2,300 beds for rehabilitation. Intensive development in science and different technologies change people's motive for using natural healing factor, which affect on conception of changing space in climate location. How may need rehabilitation after COVID-19 pandemic? About 81% is people with mild or moderate illness and recovery without treatment. 14% develop severe symptoms that can last several weeks or months, and some people also go on to develop long COVID. This is a very, very special group patient, and the people who are recovering for severe illness or who have long COVID may require rehabilitation to manage the after effects of COVID-19 infection. After severe COVID-19 disease, many patients will experience a variety of problems with normal functioning and will require rehabilitation services to overcome these problems. Rehabilitation is applied during continuous treatment, starting from acute, mainly in post-acute, and prolonged rehabilitation in the chronic phase of the disease. This includes a simple screening process, use of a multidisciplinary expert team for evidence-based classes or intervention, exercise, practice, psychological support, and education, particularly about the self-management, and range of tailored interventions for other problems. The large number of COVID-19 patients needing rehabilitation. And you can see the Institute of Rehabilitation in Belgrade from Serbia. We have two departments. One is in Belgrade, Sokobanjska 17, and we work date cardiac rehabilitation and physical medicine and rehabilitation. And the second part of Institute in Rehabilitation in Selter Spa, 40 kilometers from Belgrade. Today, we work in Belgrade cardiac and neurological rehabilitation, and in Selter Spa, one department is for COVID patient and the hospital for COVID, and the second part of institute is the Center for Rehabilitation. This is very important for the subacute phase of rehabilitation, and we have the individual rehabilitation program for this group of patients, and prescribing and providing rehabilitation program in a specialized rehabilitation center, and the special rehabilitation centers from Serbia have well-known, very good, highly educated staff and adequate equipment. How should patient needing rehabilitation after COVID-19 be identified? What rehabilitation intervention will benefit the patient? And the question, how will rehabilitation services need to change? This is very, very important question today for rehabilitation patient after COVID-19 infection, and for all group of patients for rehabilitation. How the medical aspect of COVID-19 relate to rehabilitation, and when a referral to rehabilitation is appropriate. Discuss the intervention rehabilitation services could give and supporting evidence. Consider how COVID-19 may precipitate change and improve Serbian rehabilitation services so that most COVID-19 patients could receive rehabilitation. And COVID-19 has challenged all healthcare, including rehabilitation, and will continue to do so for the last few years. COVID-19 has precipitated rapid change and adaptation. This will benefit all patients and all parts of healthcare. And you can see Institute for Rehabilitation in Niška Banja for cardiac and musculoskeletal rehabilitation, and the second institution is the Special Hospital for Rehabilitation patient with diabetes mellitus in Vrnjačka Banja. The current state of physical and rehabilitation medicine in Serbia reflects the development, but it has traveled over 70 years, on which there have been valuable achievements and successes. According to the World Health Organization, trust sources that include in program rehabilitation patient after COVID-19 infection is very important. The lung damage, heart damage of inflammation, myocarditis of pericarditis, and patient with cognitive impairments, patient with blood vessels and complication in cardiovascular system, patient with heart attack, patient with stroke or pulmonary embolism, patient with muscle or joint pain and chronic fatigue. This is very, very important problem every day in rehabilitation. Some people who recover from COVID-19 may need physical and rehabilitation medicine to help them resume normal activities after staying in the hospital or following periods of prolonged isolation. And PRM for choice recovering from COVID-19 aims to restore function. The muscles reduce the likelihood of mental health condition and may occur a result of limited mobility. It's very important the acute medical rehabilitation in acute intensive care patient with COVID-19 infection. We work acute medical rehabilitation in Hospital i Clinical Center of Serbia in Belgrade, Niš, Novi Sad. And for us is very important the second phase of rehabilitation patient after COVID-19 infection. is very important method of rehabilitation, aerobic exercise and walking and low intensity exercise training and balance training for this group patient. Pulmonary rehabilitation is a very important part of rehabilitation patients after COVID-19 infection. And we have long-term effects of lung function in some people, and is very important rehabilitation, the spatial growth patient after COVID-19 infection. This is the patient with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. And pulmonary rehabilitation has the following guys through its source: reducing shortness of breath, improving lung capacity, the increase functional capacity, and exercise training is very important method of pulmonary rehabilitation. You can see the part of Institute for Rehabilitation is Selter Spa, and the Spatial Rehabilitation Hospital Ribarska Banja, and other spa institution is Serbia, Infirmos Spa Center is very important for rehabilitation patient after COVID-19 infection. Very important the method in this spa center is balneology, spatial climatology, and all method of rehabilitation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry because I didn't know how long your presentation will last. And I would say big congratulations for your very hard work and to have Serbia and a high level and medical reputation in the medical spas. This is, we know, mainly your job. And I heard that you made also the first big step, like our colleague Zala Šekova from Slovakia, to introduce this program also for the health ministry. And I hope you will have a big success and all your members will have a big advantage of it. So it means that Serbia is definitely very well prepared. You have a lot of specialists. And thank you very much for explaining the combination of medical competence and the use of natural remedies, because this is the advantage that we have in Europe. And I hope that with all this program, you will prove it to the national health care institutions that medical spas in Serbia are the best partner, and you will be more integrated in the public health. And this will be also a kind of new perspective for the spa hotels, not in this way, but as we said, we have to take care also about prevention and to educate people for a healthy lifestyle. And now we will travel to Slovenia, which is the host of the next European Spa Congress from the 27th of September till 1st of October. Also for the gala of the Innovation Award, and also for Spa Central Europe, which is the B2B workshop for tour operator and health tourism providers. I would like to ask Mr. Istok Altbauer, the Managing Director of the Slovenian Spa Association, to explain also about the safety stamp and how a country like Slovenia with a very, very good image in green tourism can combine the medical competence in the promotion of tourism. So, Mr. Istok Altbauer, the floor is yours.
My dear Cila, my dear and beloved colleagues, I would say, first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to this very important event. I believe this is one of the first of its kind in the region. And it reminds me, of course, on our cooperation in the Balkan Spa Summit and in the association with dear colleagues from Serbia. Let me, please allow me, Cila, to address just some few words in Serbian language and almost the closest to my native language Slovenian. Poštovane dame I gospodo, dozvolite da vam se još jedan put zahvalim za ovaj poziv I probat ću sad da idem dalje sa ovom prezentacijom na engleski. Samo toliko da stvarno da se zahvalim I Nataši I kolegama za tu mogućnost da predstavim evo šta imamo mi na tom području napravljeno u Sloveniji. So I'll switch back to English. I just needed to say some few words. I haven't been speaking to the colleagues now for quite some time. Okay, let me go through this presentation about the Corona recovery concept in the Slovenian spas. Of course, we are faced since now more than 1 year with a new normality. What is this? This is health on one side, how to preserve the health, but safety, what we have introduced into our standards in all our health and spa resorts in Slovenia. I know that we are speaking very similar language to all the presenters who have been before me, but still I would like to point out some activities we have done in the Slovenian spas. Already in February last year, we have been working together with our National Institute for Public Health to prepare standards for the patients and the guests in our health and spa resorts. Of course, at that time, nobody was aware of what would happen and what is waiting for us in the months to come. First close down, we were all facing in the mid-March of 1920 and started to reopen our health and spa facilities in June. But at the same time, 3 of our spas were working permanently in receiving the most severe patients needed for rehabilitation programs. So we had gained already with this dealing with the patients, not only in applying of the highest standards, also with possible cause or possible patients who would come infected with the coronavirus, and we had really done this, I can say, in the best possible way, because no further infections of coronavirus were reported in our spas. Now, in the second wave of the pandemic in October, on the 24th, all the hotel facilities in Slovenia were closed, but all the spa, health and spa resorts in Slovenia remained open, and we are still, until nowadays, receiving the patients on regular rehabilitation programs. Slovenia was also one of the first countries introducing the green and safety standard that was adopted also by all our members of the Spa Association, which is commitment to responsible, but at the same time also green and safe, let's say, speaking about tourism in Slovenia, but at the same time also safe procedures of the patients that we are performing in the spas. These standards and some of the spas have gone even beyond the safety standards, introducing hygiene standard plus in this way, taking even more care than it is prescribed by the National Institute for Public Health. But focusing now to what we have done in Slovenia in regard to the post-COVID programs in the Slovenian spas. First of all, we have a strong partnership with the National and University Rehabilitation Institute on preparing the standards. The standards that I've been speaking before were prepared also with the National Institute of Public Health and the National University Rehabilitation Institute. But the programs we have prepared are focused on the knowledge that we have gained also in treating this patient. Now, the areas of the indications areas that have been described also by a medical expert like Professor Lazovic and Professor Zalešakova are very similar also in Slovenia. These are mainly respiratory, cardiovascular, psychological, neurological, fatigue, and other problems related to COVID patients. Also in Slovenia, we have these programs at the moment on a self-paid and as a commercial programs, but we are negotiating and we are trying to find way with our Ministry of Health and of course our state insurance company to recognize the programs that we have prepared on a week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 week base. But what we have found out that the patients would be ideally treated for at least 3 weeks. In this way, we could really apply the knowledge that we have, the natural remedies that we are using in these programs, and to help restore functionality of the patients in full and as much as possible way. The suggestion is that the most severe patients who are undergoing in the process of rehabilitation in the National Institute, University Institute for Rehabilitation, and who are being prepared in the phase that they can leave the Rehabilitation Institute, they are not yet completely recovered, that they would continue this 3 weeks recovery program in the Slovenian natural spas. This way, we believe that we could give a best hand and offer to the public health in for the patients who really need and who are, let's say, facing these terrible problems from the post-COVID traumas. I can say that we already received some of the post-COVID patients that are being sent by the doctors, but they are just at the moment not called the post-COVID programs. But so we according to the status of the patients and the examination of the medical doctor of the indication that is typical for the spa, we then provide this patients the treatments as they would be treated also with regular problems, but special focus being put especially on respiratory treatments. And we have, for example, 2 specialized hospitals for cardiovascular diseases, so that these programs can be easily applied to these patients. Slovenia has the climatic resort, or we can say that we have also 2 spas on the Adriatic coast. They are, of course, ideal for all this combination of programs for respiratory diseases. We all know the benefit of the climate on the coast. We also know the benefit of the salt that is still being won on the Slovenian coast, and the products that are used as, for example, as a salt room for inhalation, or a very concentrated sea water called aqua madre that is also applied and being offered. And of course, the thalassotherapy, which is in the case of Thalasso Strunjan, is the only thalasso center which doesn't have its own thermal spring or thermal water. And we all believe that the psychological element that has been already mentioned so many times is a very important thing. We all are aware how heavily disrupted are the people after all this time of not being able to use any of tourist facilities, but also not being able to use tourism facilities in health and spa resorts. So we believe a positively well movement that we joined is a very important thing. The location of our health and spa resorts, there are 13 of our members are mainly located on the border towards Austria, Hungary, Croatia, but as mentioned also on the Italian border, on the Slovenian coast, on the short but very important Slovenian coast, the Terme Portorož and Thalasso Strunjan. Let me just go, not to take too much time, of the main reason of the Slovenian spas. This is, of course, the natural remedies, the thermal and mineral waters, the mineral pelloids. We have peat that we win on 1,500 meters, and we mix it with mineral water, enabling the patients to use mineral bath in this peat mineral combination, or apply it also in packages for rheumatological patients in lindering the pain. Thalassotherapy mentioned, and climate, of course, as the main focus. We have, of course, centuries of tradition. The oldest written document dates back to 1403, and thus Slovenian spas are one of the oldest with written documents about use of thermal waters in the spas of that time. Of course, drinking waters applied is also one of the speciality of the Slovenian spa. So many times describe knowledge and tradition, the knowledge of thermalism, balneology, and a very strong medical teams that use and apply this knowledge with a strong local character of resources is what I would describe the 5 main reasons. There are nearly 90 thermal springs, different water. We have indoor-outdoor pools. The capacity of Slovenian spas is 4,500 beds, which is almost 1/3 of all capacities in Slovenian tourism, and we represent 1/4 of all tourism overnights in Slovenia. As mentioned by Cila and also by other colleagues, the Slovenian spas will be hosting this year from September 30th to October 1st, the 25th ESPA Congress, and at the same time, the unique workshop of spa offer on one side, and spa specialist agencies that we invite and bring to the table for negotiation and for doing business. All the best to all the colleagues, and really hope to see you live as soon as possible.
So latest in end of September in Slovenia, to repeat. And actually, I would say the certification green and safety tourism is the best example of also to show, to get back to the title of today's sustainable tourism and health tourism is the best combination. And now we will travel to Italy, to Tuscany. And I would like to welcome Mrs. Massimo Giovanetti from a very famous historical thermal town, Montecatini, middle of Tuscany. And you will see also from his position, it's very good if somebody is taking care of the management, but also about strategy. And because Montecatini has, on the same place, 4 different thermal water, mud, inhalation. So we will hear from Italy a good example how many natural remedies are in one place and dedicated for post-corona recovery concept. So Massimo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Cila. Thank you very much for inviting me. I want to welcome and thank all authorities, Ms. Natasha Ranitovic and their staff, and the speakers and all the audience. My presentation, I will try to be as short as possible. My presentation will focus how Terme di Montecatini is facing the COVID-19 pandemic has struck the whole world, and we know now, unfortunately, that pandemic involves all our body and mind. So now, more than ever, the natural remedies like thermal car can help to recover after pandemic. Thermal medical treatments among, of course, the best, even for their sustainability and for the action on the microbiota. This is a very important element because recently the scientists discovered that microbiota are not only in the intestinal apparatus, but also in respiratory apparatus, both very important from the COVID-19. And for this reason, our medical direction is studying the inflection and the importance of microbiota with thermal and hydroponic therapies. Of course, it's not a matter of important issue. It has to stay in a stimulating and familiar environment in a quiet place like thermal towns are. Our medical direction are studying, as I told, two different projects of study. One is based on how salt, sulfate, alkaline thermal water can influence the composition of the intestinal microbiota. And another one, we start soon, the modification of intestinal microbiota induced by use of thermal water, linked with the reduction of marked systemic inflammation and fecal inflammatory markers. But what we are now going on are two different projects for post-COVID-19 prevention and rehabilitation. The prevention one is aimed for people at risk by age, pathologies, or job, with the purpose of preventing damage to the locomotor and muscular and respiratory pulmonary system. The method is inhalation therapy and hydroponic therapy, stimulating and strengthening the immune response and intestinal function. The environment, as I told you, the city and spas of Montecatini can guarantee the optimal environment to get the best therapeutic results. Also in terms of sustainability and safety, as they gave percentages to millions of guests. The results will be monitored individually by our medical direction and will shared with the scientific committee and the University of Pisa and Florence. The second project is based on for the rehabilitation and recovery. The pathologies resulting from the respiratory infection with COVID-19 coronavirus are a complex of nosocomial entity with a high percentage of cases among those who contract the disease in several forms, but not only in hospital, but also after the hospital or even for people staying at home. And even, I should say, for people after the vaccine, we have seen that they can have infection after the first vaccine. That's why we gave very important attention to these symptoms, and we, our medical direction, try to find the best way for finding and giving the best possibility to recover and to come back to normality. But it's also very important, as I told you before, and as many other speakers told before me, the environment of where the treatments are. And are very important also from the mind wellness point of view. This is a problem that can harm not only people with COVID-19 symptoms, but also people without, but living, as all of us are, in this terrible time of pandemic. That's why it's so important, a global rehabilitation program made with a special respiratory exercise and exercise for recovery and reconditioning with hydroponic treatment and rebalancing the intestinal microbiome. The purpose of motor rehabilitation projects are to avoid complications of breathing and improve cardiovascular and musculoskeletal performance, global motor reduction, increasing tolerance to effort, and functional recovery and autonomy. How is these programs? First of all, we have to say we have to say that they are all tailor-made therapeutic exercise program in the GIM, active assisted joint mobilization to 4 limbs, also with mechanical devices, muscle reinforcement exercises, proprioceptive exercises, global postural education, hydrokinetic therapy in thermal water, rehabilitation of postural reflexes, coordination exercise for third trunk, the conditioning to walking and effort, interval training, continuous training endurance, and instrumental physical therapy. But I should repeat that a very relaxing stay in a green, safe, white thermal town and in a nice environment, as in Montecatini Terme, will be the best solution for a real mind wellness that everyone now, I should say, more than ever needs. I think I've finished. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm here for every question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And it was a nice trip. And also, again, the closing words from all our speakers, it's fantastic. So you summarize why to travel to a health destination and to a medical spa. That we talked a lot about medical spas, but we should concentrate and do not forget about the climate health resorts, because we talk also about serious pulmonological cases. And all participants who were talking today, let's start with Slovakia, Bulgaria, also Romania, who was not in our section but before, Italy, and Slovenia and the coastline, and the other countries more in the mountain region. They have certified climate health resorts. And this is definitely also for families. And as we heard, for people, they had not very serious cases, or they just want to take care of the immune system. This is mainly also a big target group for the spa hotels. And I would like to say thank you again for the wellness cluster, for the ministry, for the Central European Initiative to organize this Congress. And I see Mrs. Zalashukova would like to say some words.
Okay, I want to also take answer to Mrs. Alina, that of course the interest of post-COVID stay in the spas is very big, but not only in the domestic market. We have some informations very serious that Israeli people want to visit, for example, our spa in Slovakia, our post-COVID programs. And what is very important for all of you, they have the special interest only for the spas where all staff is vaccinated. It means not only medical doctors, sisters, and these health workers, but also the staff, the other staff, which is in contact with the clients. And of course, all Israeli tourists for medical tourism to come for this post-COVID treatment will be all vaccinated. It is something what we must have in our minds to put alive also the medical tourism, not only the domestic market, but also to go back to the international market. And what about this, what you say, Chila, this climatic spas? We have in many countries. In some countries, there are like high mountain climatic conditions. There is a little bit problem because the high climate sometimes is the problem with saturation of oxygenation, and there is the lower partial lack of oxygen. Then for this heavily impairment, it is not very good. But we have also it is very important for thalassotherapy to stay for example, in Bulgaria, Slovenia, and also Holland with they have also the programs, climatic healthcare programs. And what is also important also to put from the Kneipp therapy, some elements also for supporting the immune response and immunological status of the people. It is also very important, this Kneipp orientated space. Only this. Thank you for attention.
Thank you. Actually, yesterday we could open the champagne because Kneipp had yesterday 150 years anniversary. So we see that many methods which is related to natural remedies is very important and has a big tradition. So I would like to close and to say thank you to all our audience and to see you hopefully soonest in Slovenia and the European Spa Congress, or we will visit you in Serbia. The impressions today were very, very good. Thank you very much and see you soon.
Thank you, Cila. And for the end, I would like to say a few words. Dear colleagues, dear participants of today's 11th Regional Forum of Health, Wellness and Spa Tourism, I would like to thank everyone for their participation and another excellent organization of this forum. The fact is that tourism as a branch is in an extremely serious situation. The figures shows that 12,000 people on a daily basis lose their job in our industry. 535 million is a daily loss of tourism, and it will take several years to get back on a level of 2019. This is a serious problem that has caused a huge change. But we must know this as well. As long as the change exists, it means that we are alive, that we are functioning, that we are fighting, and no matter how bad it sounds to you now, this is good. Why? Because there are no problems and changes only on a cemetery. Today we proved that no one can dispute the fact that tourism is very much alive. It affects not only the rural development of the areas in which it takes place, but also continues to grow and develop upward, positively affecting all those who have connections with it along that way. Today we could hear a great lectures related to the whole situation. We could see the serious and quick reaction of all of us who work in tourism, because the better we know our enemy, the bigger the chances is to fight with it and to defeat it. We could see what serious research is being done in order to preserve people's health, how important prevention is and how important rehabilitation is for humankind. Once again, we all showed how much we are fighters and why our spas are still the primary place in tourism with their natural healing factors, and therefore very important both in terms of wellness and prevention and in terms of treatment. My dear colleagues, in my name and in the name of Wellness Cluster Serbia, I wish you all good health. You know, don't lose your strength. This shall pass, and better times will come. Thank you all again.
Thank you, Mr. Ivanovic. And thanks for all participants. See you next year. Goodbye.
Goodbye. See you the next year in Serbia. Many greetings from Belgrade.
See you soon.